Okay, so I'm gonna call to, it is, calling the meeting to order for the town council. It is, May 20th, it is 6:18 PM as we call this meeting to order. And, yeah, all right. You guys gonna have to wait a minute while I get my head on straight, because I haven't quite let go of the meeting, we were just finishing up. Right now, there was a Thomas's iPhone, whoever the heck that is, that was online. He only came in about halfway through the meeting. No clue who that is.
I don't know who it is. That's always there.
Maybe has a link on it.
Yeah, I had written down no one online, and then I got to look over partway and I went, what? Does someone know? Now it's back on.
Yeah, it's always there. Thank you.
All right, so I've called the meeting to order, and first item up is the pledge of allegiance.
Which it stands, one nation. Justice for all.
Phone is doing that.
That's mine.
Okay. Hey, take the phone away. I got tossed out with corporate. Yeah. Okay, conflicts of interest. Anyone on the council have a conflict of interest with anything on the agenda? I'll start with you, Val.
No.
Me, no. Paul?
No.
April?
No.
Okay. The reason I was saying, is I looked at the consent agenda before we got on to the pledge of allegiance, says
Yeah.
approval of minutes for the months of January, February, and then 2 meetings in March. What happened, the reason why January and February are back on here is I recently was,
These are all the ones that we approved last time. Right.
and I recently went through them. I was going through things and came across my minutes and made a zillion changes to the minutes. And so, January, February,
After we approved them?
after you approved it, so, Crystal said she was putting this back on the agenda for us to discuss that. Because I had a lot of changes.
So were the changes reflected in what's current on SharePoint or not?
No, it's all it.
Okay,
So gotta reapprove with just
I can see those minutes on SharePoint.
they're in a totally different folder, that's why they're not in there, so we can either just hold off on them another month.
We'll have to,
Okay,
we'll have to.
Okay,
Are we including?
well, Jean needs to redo March, she hasn't sent her March's ones either, so, one of them she wasn't attended, so.
How come April wasn't on here?
Because she hasn't given her changes for those.
I
It's all-
thought the minutes were
it's
really-
all me. I am the holdup on everything with regards to minutes.
Okay.
Sorry, guys.
That's
It's
fine.
all me. Okay.
So we need to,
Just wait.
Table them.
Yes.
Agenda.
Yes, okay, please.
motion to table consent agenda till next month.
I'll second that.
I'll honestly tell you that ever since I left town the 1st of April to go out of town for a wedding, I came back, I was sick. 2 straight weeks, and then I've just not felt well ever since, and it's been hard getting into that. So,
Want to call it on
oh, I'm sorry.
that?
So just, we didn't get a second?
Yeah, we got a second.
Okay. Uh, all in favor?
Yes.
Review of checks and invoices next. Of course, I've always approved checks and invoices because I signed the checks and invoices, and I have nothing to do with you. Do you guys have you guys looked at it and have any questions?
I do, and I don't know if we address the questions to you,
Well-
and maybe Becky can answer. I was just,
Are these questions that you think we need to address right now? Or are they something you could have asked us? Okay, all right, we'll go ahead and do it this time, but I prefer the answers, the questions come ahead of time. Before the meeting. Okay.
then what are we review, well, okay, on the April finances, 1061,260. Concerning the equipment rolls, we have a 465% increase.
1061 what?
10-61-260. And it's the rolls in its equipment. And it's a 465% expense. I'm just curious as to what that expense was for.
I haven't a clue. I
Oh, are you
have
looking
no
at-
idea what you're talking about.
You're not looking at the checks and invoices.
Yeah, that's
You're
the
looking at
budget.
Are you looking
I'm
at
at
the?
financial. statement.
Financial statement, okay. So that,
So I can wait till the budget.
Okay, yeah, we're talking about checks and, what checks were good?
Well, it was in the financial folder,
Oh,
so
okay.
that's why.
Okay.
No, checks are fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Okay, no other questions on checks? Okay. All right.
Are you making a motion? Do we have to make?
No, it's just if you guys have any questions on checks and invoices. Okay, so then we are on for, the report from the planning commission chair.
Good evening, everyone. Did everyone receive my monthly
We
report?
did, and it's in our folder.
Thank you.
Awesome.
So we had a public hearing last week and there were 4 items. There were no letters or emails on any of the items. The only person to comment was Mr. Lacoste. And, if you go through each of the ordinance, whether it's village overlay, the, chapter title, the limited commercial habitation to the work change, the revisions to chapter 16, including our low impact conditional use. And, the chapter 8 updates and amendments. All of his comments, his main points, and there. And the next steps, it says will be discussed at work meeting on 5/21. I changed that, but I must not hit say, we will be discussing these in June.
Okay,
Because our only topic for tomorrow night will be, the most current, updated version of the general plan. Because we want to get that to you guys in, as quickly as we can. We also then, voted on 3 items. One was limiting or prohibiting commercial or public parking lots in residential and agricultural zones. And that, was a pass. There was a recommendation by Cameron that we all, thought might be a good idea to add definitions. I don't know if that is a simple change. If it was a change that would require a rehearing, we would simply pass this and then pass an ordinance with the 2 definitions. One
this
for,
was on which ordinance you're talking?
commercial or public parking,
Oh, we're on that.
to just define those on page 1. And I think that's probably a good idea, and that could be an easy public hearing down the road.
Did you have any suggestions? on what you
We
got?
actually came up with some, and, I meant to include those. So I can get those to you guys, so you can have your input on them as well, and then we'll create a quick little, ordinance to add those 2 items to our definitions, okay? And then, there was, a little bit of confusion about the open space. We have an ordinance to reinstate it. We do have land currently zoned open space. In the code, it says it was removed in 2021. But there's no paper trail for that. So there's a question about is it still there? Or do we
When you
need
say
this
there's no
ordinance?
paper trail, you mean there was no ordinance that was passed removing open
Miss,
space?
Lee Ballard cannot find it. So that needs to be followed up. It says it was in 2021, but they haven't updated all those links in the new code so that you can see what. was
Yeah, the
removed.
new code is, what's not updated, online you're talking about is only ordinances that were passed in 24. So it's
Okay.
already, everything in 21 was updated.
So, but when we click on that link, that says it was amended, you know, usually you used to click on it, and then that ordinance amending it would pop up, and
And
that's
now
not,
what happens?
nothing.
Okay,
They just need to
we just need to find that. That may have been a link that.
notify them.
Yeah,
I think Crystal knows where to find those.
Recreate the link.
You have a paper file, Crystal?
Yeah.
There, right?
Well, what we've done is, we've given all this to our codifiers. We've given all this to our codifiers and they keep track of this. And they have a scan of whatever the ordinance was that.
We still-
eliminated
I had
those.
that similar
hold on, we
situation.
still have access to the old.
And I had to have asked.
Yeah, so-
to come up with that.
We could, I mean, if it's there, it's.
Hold on, guys, just hold on.
it's
We
there,
still have
so-
access to the original. The Unicode has not terminated. They have not deleted from, online our old ordinances. So what code is that? What chapter?
16. 48. It was chapter 16, and it was,
Open space was not. chapter
it was
16.
48.
48.
We also have, yes,
Removal of the zone on 10/20/21. All right.
we have access to all the ordinances.
2021-77.
Okay. So this ordinance would simply reinstate that existing previous language.
Hey, did you read it? Are you comfortable with it? Okay,
Yes, it's in the ordinance.
okay.
What's the ordinance in the date?
2021-77. The date is 10/20/21, and it says, now therefore, be it ordained by the land use authority of Virgin that in order to provide for the health, safety, and general welfare of the citizens, now therefore, oh, for goodness sakes, is this another one of those?
Are you in chapter 16 or are you in chapter?
48.
48, okay, I clicked the link, this is the same thing where an ordinance was prepared, where it says now therefore be it ordained by Virgin Town by and through its or town council. Chapter 48, open space zone, and then it says nothing.
We can go
This is
look
the
at the
second time
original
we've had
ordinance.
ordinance.
We can go look at the original ordinance and the ordinance book that Crystal keeps. See if it's in there and then check the minutes to see if it was on the agenda and passed.
But listen to what I'm telling you,
Yeah, oh, I understand,
the wording is not there in the ordinance, it just says
but
chapter
it may
48.
be in the original ordinance is what we gotta go check, but the paper copy.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's
It
fine, but
should
I'm
be the
looking,
same as what we are.
I'm looking at the one that is signed.
Yeah.
Okay,
So, yeah, there may have been a page left out somewhere.
Did they
I don't
scan
think
all those in? Then they must have scanned them. right?
well, yeah, they get scanned in when we scan them in and we
We
send them.
scan them, send them to them.
Yes.
It's not them scanning.
But what's gonna be the definitive source is the actual ordinance that was.
Yeah, 2021-77.
Crystal was
I wrote
talking
that
about.
down.
And you can get with her and she can show you it, so.
But we also have an ordinance to reinstate it. This is-
Yeah, it was just see it to make sure that
Make
it's
the language
done.
the same.
You may not need to pass that ordinance if it wasn't actually. followed.
Thank you, Christy. Let me know when you want me to come. I appreciate it. All right, and then the last one was,
Well, hold on, I will say that the vote is shown on here, and it has 3, and 2 people were not there, And, three, they had a quorum of three, and the three voted for it, and two people were not there. So there were the votes recorded on this thing, but they voted on it. Okay, go ahead.
But either way, you know, we need to figure out which way you wanna go. All right, and the last item we voted on was, the live work ordinance. And there was, it was 2-1 vote, 2 for, 1 no, and 1 abstain. Larry McCray abstained from this vote. There's a couple of typos in the date. There was a motion to, by Commissioner to have a public hearing on the same ordinance, removing any limitations to the number of live work units allowed per business. But it did not receive a second, but I would encourage you to read the comments on this, so you can hear and understand the points that were made by various commissioners about that.
We're talking about open space, or you're talking about live work?
Live
I
work.
have one thing here, on your chart,
Uh-huh.
where you have, going back to the open space.
Yes, ma'am.
You have. The vote was 2-2. Correct. And then you have here recommended approval, but if the vote.
But we always recommend it's always recommended for approval, and the vote was 2 to approve and 2 not.
So which means it's forwarded to the town council with no recommendation.
No recommendation.
Okay, that's what, okay. So
And I could add that down at the bottom, just for clarity.
you could add what, the fact that it needs representative from town
Sense.
council with no.
Yeah, or
recommendation.
where I say sent to town council for approval or no recommendation.
Yeah, you could add
I could add
something.
Okay, so I'll add that language.
Okay,
And then the last thing I added this month, just so we don't forget spinning wheels, is at the very last page, pending ordinances and town councils, just a list. And so like, if you vote on one occasion today, I'll make a note to take that one off and everything else up. So that we don't lose sight of anything. If you see anything, I think everything else has gone through. Okay. And then tomorrow is general plan, general plan, general plan.
yay.
All right, thank you.
So before you leave, are you sticking around for a discussion on the location?
Yes, I can do that tonight.
Right, if you don't have to, we can address it now, but I thought it would be better at, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna say we could. Do you have the time
Yes,
to hang out? 'Cause
my son is here.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay, I see that, next on the agenda. Oh my gosh, let me jump. Next is Jean.
Even she gave you a very detailed breakdown, of everything that's going on, I figured I would address the two that have had changes since the last meeting, everything else they're working on, but there's no.
Do we have something? Oh,
Oh, yeah, it's
it's this thing?
very detailed.
So they,
Okay, wait a minute. Okay. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet.
Glasses.
I don't need my glasses to read, I need to see far away, like you're a blur.
That's how I am.
trying to cram as much detail in as possible.
Yeah, you're
Not
gonna have to
giving you
explain,
everything.
you're gonna have to explain this first thing under the Labrie project.
Yeah,
And then, okay. You said because this was so detailed, you were only gonna talk about what?
I just had two, I was gonna briefly
Discuss
touch on the fact that we talked with,
Labrie and what else?
the land swap with Michelle. She met with the DRC to
Okay,
lay out some stuff, and it kind of goes into detail on what's
okay,
happening there. So
okay, all right,
there's nothing much on that. On the Labrie, I'm sure there's a lot of questions. So I figured I would, touch on a couple things, hopefully just to educate a little bit and, maybe answer some questions before we get asked them, and then I'll be happy to answer the questions. The first thing there, she put under there that the certificate of occupancy was issued on May 13th, and once the lifespan of light fixtures have been met, or once they have run out, then those lights have to be changed to whatever the dark sky limitations are. That's pretty much the same thing across town. If somebody has a current permit, you can't take the current law and say we're going to override the laws that were in place when you started and apply them now. They can, of their own free will and choice, adhere to it immediately, or they can wait until the lifespan of that luminaire is completed. So that's what she's written in there. There was some concern from the community about understanding, I think, what fully shielded lights means. I kind of wanted to touch base on that because this was a problem. And I don't want to say a problem, it raises its head every time something goes in because of the definition of a fully shielded light. So I brought some props, if you'll forgive me.
I thought that was a
Glass of water.
glass of lemonade.
I would bring my daughter's SpongeBob SquarePants cup. So I brought this, and then I realized we kind of got some good examples right here in the room. They're facing the wrong direction, but a fully shielded light, we have two requirements in the town of Virgin. One is that it is opaque, meaning you can't see the bulb through the fixture. The bulb has to be shielded to where you can't see the bulb. Fully shielded means that the horizontal line of the bulb and the fixture are equal or less. It cannot break the horizontal plane, and the light cannot cast light above the shielding. That's what a fully shielded light is. Now, the problem comes when you've got lights like these can lights here, the can ones that are turned off, those are fully shielded, but we are lower than them. So we still see the bulb, even though it's a completely shielded light. Anytime you have a parking area where they have parking lights, it's always going to be that way, where you can see the light. The concern is that it never breaks that horizontal plane. I was talking with the mayor earlier today, and I said, one of the challenges that we face with shielding is that we have grown up, all of us in this room for sure, have grown up, that this is what a bulb looks like. But today's lights, that's a bulb, and it yields the same amount of light as this. So following our ordinances, I can place this light inside that, and that's now fully shielded because it doesn't break the horizontal plane, which makes it very challenging for us. We have to look at each LED and make sure that the LED is shielded below with some sort of plastic that covers that horizontal plane.
And you have to look at it when it's lit up.
You have to look at it when it's lit up, but you have to look at it from the level of the light.
Right.
Now,
looking at.
there's another challenge too, and it's not addressed in our ordinances. I think the LEDs are something that the town really should address because that's where everything's going. We're getting away from standard bulbs and going to LEDs that they're more efficient, definitely an energy saver. But that's the challenge, is that it doesn't take much to shield them. So they can be almost no shielding at all because they're so small. The second problem is our ordinances don't address the width. So I don't know if you've ever had one of those flashlights, you could move the bulb in and out. So if the bulb is right against the bottom of the shielding, it's going to cast the light out to the side more. But as you raise it up into the shielding, it becomes more of a straight down type lighting. We don't have anything that addresses that in our ordinances. Now, I went and examined all of the fixtures that are on the Labrie property, and they are LEDs that are fully shielded at the horizontal plane. The ones that are on his parking lot lights, we went out and met on site, and I told him, I said, your lights meet the code, but if you want to be a good neighbor, it would be wise to shield the backside further down to where it doesn't cast light into the neighbors, that it just casts lights in the parking.
Well, isn't trespass prohibited under the code at the time it was adopted for Labrie? So the fact that it trespasses on the other's property would make it in violation of the code. So the shield, if that solves that problem, would work. But I think you have a violation if it trespasses.
Well, that's the problem, is how do you define trespass? I'm not qualified to do that. We'd have to have someone that can come in and say, this is, because you have to measure this stuff in luminaires, and then all these, it takes meters and things that the town doesn't have. And the second problem is equally applying it, because if it's applied, it says you can't trespass, it should be applied to residential and commercial. Anybody that puts in a new fixture, it should be tested, which we just don't have that capability currently.
So
But-
the
but
neighbors
his
that are
lights-
adjacent to that project are just going to have to live with the
No,
light
not at
shining
all.
into their backyard?
The way it currently stands, but not at all. I think Labrie wants to be a good neighbor. He will likely shield the backside of those, but as far as the town ordinances, I don't see, and then I would welcome our attorney to say differently, but I don't see anywhere that there's anything that I can legally enforce by saying, you have to now make your shielding further down. We don't
It's
give that.
unfortunate that a lot of these things weren't negotiated beforehand. There's a lot of things on that project that could have been negotiated beforehand. Every single thing that happens on a project might not be in the code. There's towns that negotiate with developers to make it a good project for the neighborhood, and that is not a good project for the neighborhood.
And that's a pain,
So
obviously.
do you feel like they would be amenable to shielding those lights more?
Here's what I found with almost all developers I work with. If I come in and I say, you're gonna do it, I immediately hit a wall.
Oh, of
But if I go into somebody like
That's
Steve and
nice.
say, hey, we really appreciate it if you would do this for the town and for the
Right.
residents,
Right.
he's more than willing to do so. And negotiations continue even on things that we couldn't foresee. So I remember when we had the public hearings regarding the fence on the west side. Nobody really had a good view of what it was gonna be. Cameron ran that meeting, and it was decided that they wanted a fence on the west wall, or on the west property line, which is right down on the street. He realized it was kind of an invalid point, as well as did the town. And so negotiations been met to where we were able to raise that up on the berm where it will actually do what its purpose is and shield the property.
Have we taught, I'm looking at the code for outdoor lighting as it existed at the time that the conditional use was approved by the planning commission, okay? And it says, lighting must not be placed at a location, angle, or height that directs illumination outside the property boundaries where the light fixtures are located. So besides putting, a shield on the backside, was there any discussion about reducing the height of those?
I don't think he'll really be able to with the parking lot lights. There's safety involved as well. And I don't have the IES or the EIS information, but I can tell you that it's very, very subjective on light trespass without proper equipment and properly trained individuals to come in and say, yes, this number of luminaires are trespassing onto this property. It's very tricky, and it's beyond me. It's not in my wheelhouse as far as being able to do that. We don't have the equipment as a town to do it as
One of the things you might ask another fire hydrant is, take a look at our night sky lighting and see what we could do to bring it into compliance with respect to those backlights that are shining at people's homes. See if we can, see what's required to bring that into compliance with our current night lighting. And it may not be that expensive, and maybe that's something we want to do. And if he balks at it, maybe we can work out a solution between the town and us to assist in bringing that portion of the property in compliance now.
I don't believe he would be.
And that would be better than shielding it, which he's gonna have to replace anyway later down the road. So we'll just bring it into compliance, figure out you know, what it would take and
Sure.
And then when he sees what it takes, he may balk at it, but he may need some assistance from us. Let's figure what that is.
I think that's exactly what, I mean, anything that we impose on a contractor, especially after the fact, and when we see what it's gonna look like, incurs cost on their part. And so anything that the town can do to say, all right, we'll be willing to help you with this if you help us with this. He's very.
I looked at the definition of light trespassing and what the mayor just read, then we got an issue as to whether that's in compliance with the code at the time. The easier way is let's visit with them, see if we can work out a solution that we're both happy to bring it into compliance with the new ordinance. And maybe he will do it automatically, maybe he will say, I need some help in the cost, depending on what it is.
Okay, yeah, I'll be more than happy to talk.
My board's working, but we can, all we can do is try.
And
I think he'll work with you, it's just gonna be the cost, whether the cost is prohibitive.
And I think our goal is not to have something up there that's not gonna be in compliance with the future code. Let's bring it into compliance now and see what it's gonna take to do that.
Well, we'll see if it's just, okay.
I don't wanna offer to pay because if you're watching, then you say you pay for it.
Well, I need to know what it's gonna cost.
Let's figure out what it is and maybe something so simple, you just say, yeah, don't worry about
Okay, Darlene's been, had her hand raised for a while. Yes.
So in that existing code, there is something about height, and I wonder if the height of the light poles that are nearest to the property lines where they're shining into their homes meets that ratio.
Can you give me the?
Yes.
You're talking about there was height of light poles in the.
Inverse ratio, it's the distance from the property divided by 10 plus 3, it can't be higher than that.
Where's
Or
this?
that we're, so that's it, whether it's a street line or,
it. Is that the new code or?
no, that's the old code.
That's the old code.
And I'm going and I got out of that lighting for just a minute because I wanted to check something in definitions. Which number is lighting?
8.40.
Thank you. The, okay. Yeah. Who's that other issue on the screen?
Based on that, and I'm not a mathematician, but I believe his lights would still be well below that.
Where we're looking.
It's 8.41. 8.4. B1 and 2. It's actually B1B.
8.4.
Oh, yes, that's the one. 8.40 E1B.
I'm not, like I said, I'm not a mathematician. Based on that, I think his lights could be a lot higher than they currently are.
So, for example, I believe they're 25 feet.
I don't think they're that tall.
I have no idea.
I'd have to go back and look that.
Yeah, because that would then have to be like 75 feet from the property line.
That's true. It would have to come with a height of 25 feet using this formula. The distance from the property line would have to be 75 feet. Yeah,
I'm gonna make an assumption that they're less than 20 feet tall, but I'll be happy to.
go measure.
They're about that tall.
So what we're gonna do is we're going to measure the height of those poles. See what they are, see what they should be according to this formula here that we're talking about. And then we need to get together with Labrie again.
And also look at the new code because it's better to bring it into compliance.
Oh, I tried.
Yeah.
I know, I tried.
I mean, even with the height of the poles, I don't know what that is on the top of my head. I was trying to look at it here, but
I tried that and it was, you don't have to, so.
One of the things
But we
we,
can try again.
one of the things we did address with him when we went out for the final was the back, on the back man door, there's a light, emergency lighting that appeared to be on all the time, and we asked him, and he said he would be down the next day to make sure that that's on a motion
the
sensor.
motion sent, and then that's in compliance with the new ordinance, yeah.
Yeah, it's, yeah, okay.
That depends on how long it's on, but yeah. And it puts on and what it covers.
So what else were you gonna talk to us about? Oh, the land swap.
Yeah, we just had the DRC with her and gave her her due outs. The first and foremost item is you gotta own the land before we can really even discuss this, so. We
I
talked about
just-
what's available.
I just disagree with that. That's just my opinion. I disagree. He is saying that we can't talk about zone change.
No, we talked about her ideas, but we can't proceed any further until she actually owns the land.
Okay, but I'm like, you can talk to
Oh,
her.
yeah, we absolutely.
Okay, okay, that's a different story.
Do we have any timeline on that, on the
No,
list?
there's no deadline, but it's on our closed meeting for stuff document.
And the unplugged report, have we received legal guidance on attorney? On the, unplugged resort, what about it?
That's the one.
The application, the time, the application has lapsed?
Oh, no, that's a good result.
Okay, all right, cool.
We determined that their application was accepted. And it was, what was the word? Description. I'm gonna have to go look up the code, just to get the word I want. Their application was complete. Their application was complete, so.
Okay, so they can move forward. Is there any kind of time? If they don't do something by a certain date, they're done?
Oh, this needs to be changed.
Yeah, I just,
That totally needs to be changed. We resolved that issue. On unplugged, that whole discussion needs to be deleted and, we just need to say that, we're waiting to hear from them.
but I think Valerie answered your
But we
question.
do, there is one thing about, that needs to be done with them. Cause you signed the letter. We wrote the letter, you signed it, saying that their application was complete, or no, I'm sorry, this is one where I sent the letter. And said that the application was complete. But I told them that from now on, they are to talk to you and not talk to me. And what is going on is that they've never gotten a conditional use permit.
Okay, so that still needs to be done. If we really agree. Okay.
And that's what actually needs to be said here, is that they need to proceed with getting a conditional use permit.
Valerie, in answer to your question, whether it's this project or any other, as long as they can show that they're moving forward and it hasn't fallen stagnant for a period of time. then- So they've been working with the state on a lot of their stuff. So
Okay, great, thank you.
he was able to demonstrate that to us.
Okay, cool.
Anything else?
Well, I want to say thank you, Tyler, for putting this together. I've been wanting it.
Yeah,
Absolute description for quite a while now, so that's great. It's good plan.
Could you put that up in SharePoint or,
I'll send it.
yeah, because my eyes do not. You did the plus sign.
Yeah, I'll make it 2 pages, I hate 2 pages, but I'll make it.
You can make it 1 page because I can use the plus sign on it and go down, so that's, it's not a problem if it's 1 page, it just needs the electronic.
Yes, Mayor.
Yeah, the only thing I was thinking was, I don't know what we do because, like LaBreeze, I'm like Bison got their building permits, before we changed any of the new laws. And where here it says gas station, building permit issued and compliant, I think we should start talking to them right now about their lights. I don't even, and their canopy's already white. So I don't know if they're going to plan to come and put up some colored stuff. But I think we might as well start talking to them right now about the lights on that gas station. And possibly what's going on with the canopy.
Yeah, let's get ahead of the.
Get ahead of the game on that one.
I did find out, I think it's gonna be called, they have one in Cedar. Somebody told me the other day that it's gonna be called a Sunco. I'm not familiar with the gas station, but
Okay. They're
Yeah.
yellow, their
Yeah.
colors are.
That's a
It's
cool
yellow
thing.
and white, I
That's
think.
what they're.
That, I thought it was blue yellow. Okay,
Or it might be
Uh,
yellow, but.
I just wanna make sure, the one thing I did wonder, going back to the brief. If it was possible, because of those lights underneath the canopy and the way they are shining out. If, one of the things I want to talk to LaBrie was, it would be really easy if they just put another. Layer of shielding, the canopy, however much that canopy is, if they could just take that same amount and just put it another layer all the way around, those lights would not shine out. And I wondered if that was possible.
Possible. I looked at a few other gas stations. I was reading up on gas station ADA and EIA. I can't remember, it's the electrical energy one. They both have requirements for gas stations. And I saw some really nice pictures where they actually have like 3 or 4 inch cans that go over the top of the LEDs, just like what you're seeing around the LEDs, but an even better way would probably be
That's
dropping it down off
probably,
the can.
okay, that might be what I see in Springdale, because I looked at their lights, a couple of nights ago. When I was there at nighttime, and their lights underneath canopy are really long.
Yeah.
And that could be what that is
Yeah,
it shield?
or the lights back in, more spotlight is. He also told us when we went out there that those canopy lights are set up on automatic dimmers based on their opening. So when they close the store, the lights dim down or whatever, that's just what he told me. That's word of mouth. I don't have any evidence on that.
Okay. Okay, that was it, that I have for that now.
Anything else from you?
Good job.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Okay, so Jay has not showed up.
Jay called in and he is, feeling ill, so I printed out.
I saw that.
For you guys to review. He said if you have any questions, feel free to email him or give him a call.
Okay. No findings on their audit, very good. We always have something. Okay. So now we are on open forum. So a limit of 2 minutes per speaker, and you may talk about anything that's not on the agenda, so any of the 4 people in the room have anything you want to say in open forum? If not, is there? If not, we'll move on to council comments. Do you have, okay, what is it? And what's your name?
Mark Williamson. Oh,
Yeah, you need.
Mark Williamson, I'm a agent with White
Yes,
Real Estate.
yes.
We talked before, I think.
Yeah. you-
I think you're gonna address the fees down here on this last section, aren't you, for impact fees are coming in
No, these are not about impact fees.
today, isn't it?
No, this potential additional fees and amendment to the fee schedule, that has nothing to do with impact fees. That's just fees for various
I heard
services.
those are going up. Is that a rumor or is that something that's?
Impact fees? It might, we're gonna be doing an impact fee study. We'll see what they say, but that'll be another year.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I was told they were gonna go up and I have a client with me here today that's gonna be building in there. So we're thinking, well, do we need to pay him right away before that goes up? So we'll just dispel that rumor that we'll do. what it is.
Impact fees cannot go up until we do a study.
Okay,
We're not doing the study until next year.
very good. That sounds good to me. One other question I had come up. Was Sierra Bella, and I guess you're familiar with the catch pond, it's up above 38th. No,
I'm sorry, I was shaking my head because I did not understand what you
Detention
said.
basin.
detention basin, so in other words, there's a gal named, was it Diane, lives in my house. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a trench that comes along 38, right on the top part, it used to be there. She made a decision to have it dug out the other day, we lost the sale on 38. There's a catch pond above that, BLM is supposed to be part of that grouping. Are you familiar with this situation where she wants the city to take care of it? You
Yes.
guys don't want to, we don't know what's going on, I need to get some definitive in there.
We will not have an answer. We have an engineering firm that is doing a stormwater study for the town. They
Okay.
just started like 2 weeks ago.
Okay,
They will address that.
they'll
We
address
will
it.
make no decision until they address it.
Good, okay.
That's it.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
all right. Wait, hold on. Yes,
Question.
say.
Yeah.
Unrelated to what you said, I talked to one of your new buyers. So you have now 3 buyers into that subdivision?
We actually have, 1, 2, 3, 4.
4, okay.
And Trevor Perkins is one of them, they'll be building soon, we're gonna be submitting applications soon.
Because I think it's 37 that's sold. Is it?
37, 40,
The one across the street from his brother,
40, yeah, that's the Allen brothers.
37, 40 and what?
37, 40, 36 is Trevor's, 38 fell out because of this water thing, we're not sure what we're doing there. And then,
RZ bought, what's that? RZ bought 24.
24, I think, is sold as well, yeah.
That's pretty good.
That's not bad, we're trying to get off of it, right, and then we wanna do it right, so. Guinea pig. You know, I'm just kidding. It'll be, but we wanna build a nice home in there, it wants to be, you know, reflect on Virgin as a nice subdivision, so we want to maintain it. And that's kind of why we're up here doing that and keeping check in balances, but they had told Kenny to dredge that trench because you said so, and I said, I'm not sure that she should be in there dredging anything until we get a permission for that. So she said, you told
Who is she?
Diane, owns the house above
I
30.
didn't tell her to dredge any.
Now, that's what I thought, so there might be a problem. He told Kenny to, you know, Kenny, or
Yeah.
she called, we were doing test pits for septic systems this week. She said since he's up there to dig it out. Well, it looks like it went down 3.5 feet, I mean, it looked like the Colorado River basin, you know what I mean? It wasn't much at all.
It's a basin that they put in place to prevent,
Water, but that was back when, before the catch pond, right? I mean, is it even used now?
it is used now, and if it's not maintained, it will flood into
Okay.
your
Okay,
subdivision.
so we want it maintained.
You want it maintained.
Okay, so I just didn't have a handle on it, so when they did it, the buyers came in and went, what is this? You know, you would do it.
You're gonna want it maintained.
Yeah, okay, so I will find out when you get this,
Yeah, so when we get the study,
we'll be able to
And
address it.
that study is gonna be, we'll probably be getting that in fall.
So it's gonna be a while.
In fall, yeah, but it'll be this year, sometime in 2025, we get that study.
And they also said there's a rumor that the BLM may be sold or something, so I guess we have a problem with maintaining that catch pond above that Lamont
The
salt.
BLM has that land on a list
Okay,
to sell.
okay,
it's a long
But
way.
it is,
from it.
but it's a long list,
Sure.
and it may not sell for 10 years.
Right.
It's been up for sale before, and
And
they
they take
received
it off.
bids and they took it off, so.
And so it's still on the sell list, because I called to see if we could get a lease on the land, and they said, no, it's on the sale list and we can't take it off.
okay.
Okay,
I think that's just been sitting there, and that's not really a big concern. I think what we wanna make sure is that we make sure that the flood. And Rosenberg's working on a flood thing with FEMA and stuff, so we're working on that, but as we go along. Buyers wanna know what the deal is, cause it's been sitting there for so long, so
okay,
we'll keep in touch.
so
Yeah,
I answered your question.
you did.
Okay,
Okay, I mean, there's not much we can do about it, so 38 will have to just be in the mix and decide what we're gonna do. And if we catch that trench is used, and we just need to keep it, who maintains that? Is that the city? Is that an easement for the city then?
for the trench, that we were just talking about that.
138,
No,
so,
Can and Diane have permission from BLM?
but not Palmer's.
It's not on their property.
It runs on 38, which is on our, which is on
You
Sierra.
mean when it
When it
overflows?
overflows,
It overflows, I guess.
Yeah, but it's,
So that's just.
The town, it is not the town's responsibility at this point in time. We don't have
the
anything. to do
catch
with that.
basin is, from my understanding, has an easement to Kent and Diane Peterson. They have access, they maintain it at a cost to them for the.
That's correct, and that's why she said she doesn't want to do it.
Right, and that's, so we've
She
answered
doesn't want
that.
to keep paying it.
Well, I understand if it lets go, it could let the water on down into Sierra Valley.
But we're not doing anything, we're making no decision about anything.
They're maintaining it because, yeah, because that water will flow across.
And we're working on getting the culverts and stuff cleaned out as well, so as it comes together, it should work. That's all.
Yeah, you have Rubicon over there.
Yeah, they did a good job. They did a great job. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Okay,
There you go.
anybody else for open forum? No, so let's move on to council comments. So April, do you have any council comments?
well, I do.
Okay,
So I really hope the town can learn from our mistakes or some of the projects that we've allowed in this town. And I'll just use the Woodbury project gas station as an example. You know, that canopy doesn't blend into the natural surroundings at all, and that's part of our general plan. And it could be in anywhere USA, out the freeway in Kansas or Midland, Texas, or, you know, it doesn't do anything to protect the rural character of the town, which is what everybody has said that they want. And then, of course, we have the lighting problem, which if the developer decides that they want to deal with it, then that's great. But if they don't, then, or the residents, are going to have to live with that. I mean, that whole project, in my opinion, is kind of been a mistake. I mean, they could have negotiated at the onset. I worked diligently on public hearings, and making statements, writing letters, and the town council at that time did not want to hear anything. So that's what the project that we have now is. I think that we don't have to have every single thing in our ordinances. We can sit down at DRC meetings, that's kind of what they're for. We sit down with the contractors and say, this is what we want for our town. Can you design your project to fit in with what the concept that the residents want in our town? It can be done. It's not impossible. And then now they're adding, you know, a chain link fence around their septic system. They couldn't put up a nice fence. I mean, come on, guys. It just, the whole project is, it's kind of on my list of bad examples, what we don't want to do in this town for the future. It's kind of right up there with the tents on the hill, you know? So, anyway, that's my soapbox.
what?
I was joking.
Okay.
April, tell me your thoughts on the tents.
Okay, Paul.
Yes, well, you heard me just mention Rubicon, and I'll just be brief on that one. Rubicon came in and they're clearing out, you know, 99% on the property of Sierra Bella, but they're cleaning out all that dead wood, firewood. They did a great job. We owe them a lot of thanks for the work they did. They're gonna come back and do more work for us, and that's all in fire mitigation. And this fire mitigation is important because we need to, one, protect us from wildfires. Two, the fire mitigation will help keep insurance companies coming in to service our communities. So we don't want to become like California where the companies are suddenly leaving because of the potential risk and exposure, liability exposure, not fire mitigation. So the service that Rubicon is doing is great. I'm gonna prepare a resolution for June. That's a thank you to Rubicon that we can pass as a formal thank you to them. And I think they're scheduled to come back in November. or in the fall cinema. The other thing I wanted to talk about is probably about 4 years ago today, or 4 years ago this time, I had made a motion, and Heath may remember that, I know Gene will, I made a motion that we, certify for dark sky certification. Of course, that failed, I think it was 3-2, you and I
Yeah,
both
you
for the
did.
certification. And obviously, I knew it wasn't gonna pass, but that was the catalyst for us to start talking about it as a community. Ken Peterson did a great job of marshaling that and keeping us on task to get a lighting ordinance passed. Once we finally got our dark sky lighting ordinance passed, he sent it up to Alan Eastman at the Dark Sky Commission, and they were ecstatic that we passed it. They were ecstatic with the ordinance. Eastman was gonna bring it to the governor's attention, and then also to the attention of the International Dark Sky Organization in Tucson. So, we're on the right track. The other thing is when we were at the League of Cities and Towns, I think the three of us were in that meeting. April and the mayor, we're in a caucus, resort caucus meeting. And the one thing they talked about in that resort caucus was bringing the right kind of tourists to their town. So we asked, what's the right kind of tourist? And it was the tourists that are coming for the night skies, because they're the ones that would stay in town. They're the ones that would spend the money in the town, go to dinner. And we're not the ones that were drain on the local resources. So they were considered by the other resort communities, the kind of people you want to attract. Which brings me back to this, earlier comment I made at a meeting about 2 years ago about Flagstaff. You know, when in the Flagstaff, at a motel, at a Marriott, that's all that was on the TV was stuff about their dark sky in that community. So there's a good opportunity for us to attract businesses here and also to support the businesses here by promoting our dark skies. And so I think Missy and I have some work to do on that other resolution that deals with the payment and the loan process for the amortization. But in the meantime, in the near future, I would like to bring back that original motion with the resolution for us to start the dark sky certification. And I will bring that up again in the future. That's my comments.
Valerie, you have any?
I do. I get a lot of comments from neighbors and residents, talking about things that they see that are wrong or, and I encourage them to go to the town website and, look at the complaint form and file a complaint. And the response I get afterwards is, oh my gosh, it's way too involved. I'm not gonna do it. And I'm just wondering if we can put on our ever-growing list of things to address is trying to, make that a little less cumbersome somehow. We can look at that and see if we can streamline that a little bit. So people will use it.
I have asked for that for months. Just so you know, I have asked for months for that blank procedure to be
Okay.
completely redone, and it's gone nowhere.
Who would be responsible for that?
The complaint procedure is,
Enforcement officer or staff.
I think it's staff. But I think I have to check and see what's in the code. I think there's something in the town code about the complaint procedure.
We can look at that later, though, right? And then
Yeah, but they're just asking me, so I'm checking now.
You asked for months to do it.
Oh, who have I asked? I thought the planning commission.
That's not fine.
Hold on, it's because I think there's something in the town code in Lulu about it, and the plan, anything that we're gonna change it in the land use code, it comes from planning commission. Unless we bring something, and I don't have time to do it.
Well, I thought we tasked, when we had the meeting with the code enforcement officer, I thought we discussed the procedure, and that was one of the things he was gonna work on and bring us back.
Here it
And that
is.
was only a month.
Looking under the nuisance ordinance?
No, it's 2.22,
Yeah. It's
Section B.
cumbersome.
this whole thing on complaint procedure, but it's in the land use code. So it has to be an ordinance changing this.
But the form doesn't have, the form's not in ordinance, and so we can change the form.
The form complies with this.
it says it has to be notarized and signed.
Yes, it's so dumb.
Yeah,
It's completely dumb.
well, we,
What? Yes, Val, yes, Darlene, what? And I'm not complaining about you.
no, we will write that ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
We got somebody that's got some insight.
Oh, yeah? Okay,
It's not gonna be hard.
but meet with the code enforcement
Yes.
officer to talk to him.
Yeah.
Because this whole section of complaints, needs to be completely revised. And, one of the things that we've talked about with Heath is that, there are ways to do code enforcement does not require a complaint to be filled out. And so that's something that you guys can talk about, Darlene. What Heath was explaining one time when we were talking with, I was talking to Heath about the complaint procedure, he says, our code does not require a complaint form to be filled out for us to go out and do some code enforcement. That it is not, that we can go out and enforce even if a complaint hasn't been filed.
So our current code allows that, is what you're saying.
That's what he was
You
saying.
read 16.2.22A, the Virgin Town Zoning
We
Administrator.
need to change that to.
Well, yeah, but we did, that code just hasn't been
Yeah, it's
updated, but it's been
So
changed.
it's
to
going
code
for, is
enforcement officer.
authorized as the officer charged with the enforcement of this ordinance. Boom. He can enforce the ordinance. It doesn't have to come from a citizen complaint or anything like that,
Or a letter.
or a letter. If, it can come any way, if he observes a violation, if staff observes a violation and notifies the code enforcement officer, he investigates it more, and he sees that there's a violation, you can enforce it. Does not have to be, public originated by residents or.
But can it be?
Absolutely, of course, but it's not, it's not, that's the only way.
But-
Right.
But if it's a citizen's complaint, then it has to run through this process.
The
Which nobody wants.
Yeah, is that form. that
Or they could
can-
tell a town council member, and the town council member could write a letter.
Well, they want to go that way, that a town council member can do something, but really we need an easier way for the citizens to come and do something, do a complaint.
I agree.
You know, Val, I do the same thing. I said, I refer to the code, and they can file the complaint form there. Now, some of the neighbors will not do that because they're afraid of retaliation. So I take it on my own, and I will then refer that information to either the mayor or now directly to the code enforcement officer. So I'll act as a conduit and say, I received a complaint from so-and-so, here's the complaint, for your action. And it doesn't have to, that way they don't have to go through the complaint procedure. Because I always figured that we're the representatives, if there's a violation, we need to bring it to the attention of the person that acts.
Yeah, I just heard staff and I didn't hear, council members.
Yeah,
So
yeah, council can do it.
I heard a staff
Anyway,
member.
anyway, I mean, if you think about you, you are part of the governing body of the
Right.
town.
Hold on, Shyla, I said, hold on,
Oh, I didn't hear.
I saw your arm.
If a member of the governing body hears, they can notify staff
great.
who's been, authorized to enforce the ordinance.
So the way this came up is, there was an enforcement by the code enforcement officer and sent a letter. And the person responded saying, nobody may file a complaint, I don't have to comply, because they wanted to see a complaint. And that's how we ended up having this discussion with Heath, and Heath said, no, that is not what our code says. That is not, that only a complaint will, trigger an enforcement action. That.
Even the language, the first sentence of B, the town of Virgin encourages
Mhm.
citizens, so it's like an aspirational thing, but it's not required.
I think it's remnants of an old prosecutor saying he wanted that form in place, so he would have a witness, then he can enforce it. And it skipped a step of trying to enforce it, if we didn't have a code enforcement before, so it's just an old thing that we need to update.
It might be as simple as removing a lot of. what-
Was that what I was wondering, if we couldn't just take it out, so it has.
So I'm just gonna give a real life example, something happened maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks ago. A resident called on my phone, they complained, I don't like to use that word. They shared information about something that was happening within their community. I asked what it was, and then I researched and looked to see if it was a violation. Then myself and Matt, our code enforcement, drove through to get eyes on it, to make sure that it's something to investigate more. So 1, there was a point of contact. 2, there was research. We identified, yes, this person is doing something that needs to be red tagged. Myself and the code enforcement spoke, researched, things have to be written. So then, we then contacted, did a red tag, gave them a point of contact for the red tag. They followed up, and that procedure to lift the red tag was written from someone, town staff. And then they cannot operate or do until they're compliant with what's been requested. There needs to be a process.
Right, but we're
And a point of
saying,
contact.
but our point is, this is in the land use code. How much really needs to be in the land use code? Can you delete this entire thing and maybe just have a thing that says, if you've got, yeah. And so, I don't know why it's even in the land use
Frankly,
code.
there's an argument to be made that, because it's the land use code,
Yeah.
this only relates to complaints with regards to
Land use.
violations of the land use code. I would much rather see it down in Title II, which is the administrative code. And this would make it any type of complaint,
Any
because,
type of-
because,
Noise.
yeah, dogs, a stray without. That's not,
Well,
that's not land.
Well, I will tell you what Lee and I were discussing about, the former Lulu. She and I had this discussion quite some time ago, that back in the day, they thought Lulu was the only code. And so they were shoehorning everything they could that needed to be done into the land
It was
use
that,
code, because they thought
it was
that's all
that
it was.
mentality when I first arrived here
And
too. When we pushed for, to have the code codified and codifiers asked for everything, we dug back through and found all these other titles,
Mhm.
and
Handed
it
them
provided it to them, and that's why we have titles 2, 3, 4.
So I
And Hulu is truly only.
land use.
Yeah.
Yes, and so there's many things I think that's in our land use code that we can go through and just flat out delete. Because they don't belong in land use, they belong, as you said, like this doesn't even belong in the land use code, it goes in Title II and you're.
Yes.
So
I
I think we've got all kinds of things like that.
I'm thinking we delete everything except A. And refer to the new enforcement language in chapter 2. If that's where we want to put the new
Time.
enforcement, yes. Therefore, I do think a simplified complaint form is valuable. But I had sent some to you and you're super busy, but it says, yes, you have to put your name, but the only purpose for that is, if the code enforcement officer needs to go back and contact you.
So then it sounds like the only thing that needs to happen here, from the planning commission's point of view, is to write an ordinance deleting section B.
And then something
And
has to
then-
be written.
But and then something completely different has to be written and has nothing to do with planning commission. If we're going to put something in Title II, that has zero to do with planning commission, they only deal with Title III.
Just get rid of B or B.
I'm thinking get rid of B, the entire B, and then, re-letter C, D, and E, I mean, B, C, and E, B, C, D.
Yeah, but I do think there's a value to have it online.
So Matt does have an online form, it should be going live to the website, we can talk to him tomorrow.
Okay, I know that'll be different than I believe so. So that, this will be easy to do.
Yeah, okay, what, oh, so Paul has something?
Yeah, and Matt has resources with all the contacts he's been gathering for other code enforcement officers. He can throw a proposed ordinance together for us for Title II. We don't have to write it up here. He can talk to the other code enforcement officers and figure out what's
Well,
working.
he can, yeah, I can come up with the body of it,
Yeah.
the rest of it, he's not capable of writing an
Well,
ordinance.
he just has to borrow it from other towns, so.
No, I'm talking about all the whereases and all.
Oh, no, he doesn't need that.
He
I'm
can
just
just
the
do a
body.
body.
Yeah. We'll write the
He's not
whereas.
capable of writing an ordinance.
And then most likely if it gets to another community, they'll have the whereas for them. So.
Okay.
You go from there.
All right, anything else?
No, that.
Boy, that's
that
a lot.
can of worms.
So I just have one thing that I want to talk about for the council comments. So at the DTEC meeting today, one of the items on the agenda was to talk about this map that came from, as we've all seen this map with all the BLM land that they want to take, so we talked about that today.
They take,
Celeste Malloy has.
all from the federal government, it's just, okay, I just wanted to make sure I knew who.
That's right, this is the map that everybody's seen. So we talked about it at, let's see if I have 2 copies or one, no, this one, it's a different map. So we talked about it today at the DTEC meeting. The claim by the county commissioners is that there has been a complete misrepresentation of what this is about. And they claim that, these are for trails. Right away for trails, right away on BLM land for trails, and I'm looking at it going, well, they want the entire piece of property that sits over here off Highway 9 between Laverkin and Virgin. You can see here how they've got little lines where there's gonna be trails, but then they have that's not a trail. They want this entire piece of property. That is, and what we found out at the meeting today is that when this happens, if this bill passes Congress, the county of Washington County will control that. And will own that.
They'll own it,
They'll own it.
but if it's within inside of,
It's not in our city limits.
oh, sure.
And so, and they did have this piece of property here in Springdale, but Springdale, complained and it was removed. But ours is still in there. And I'm concerned about this right of way that they're claiming that is just for a right of way for trails along Sheep Bridge Road. Because what did come clear in the meeting today is that, Malloy's office, when this was coming up, they called the county commissioners, gave 24 hours. to Tell us what property in Washington County they wanted. And this was supposedly for water, for water lines. And so they went and talked to the city of St. George, because they handle the west side of the county. And then they talked to, the Water Conservancy District about where they wanted these water lines. And then they're telling us today, and so at this meeting today, people were saying, checking, did they call your town? Did they call your town? They only called St. George. And so here we have a map for what they were going to take in St. George. And the rest of this is just in the county. And so,
So Springdale's little parcel, it was within Springdale town limits.
yes. And it's been removed from the list. This
We
is
don't
still,
have that.
this is still in the list. We can, we checked with Malloy's representative today, he said it's not too late to object, we can still object. And we can, the way to do that is to send objections to Malloy's office. And then, the thing that worries me is this line on Sheep Ridge Road, and I'll hand this over so you can look at it. April, I'm just concerned where they're saying this is the right of way on BLM land for a trail. It's, if the water line goes out there, which then that opens up that whole area for development. What? Yeah, in the county. So if people want, I will send out an email to people that if they want to do an objection to, if they want to object, then I'll give them a Lloyd's info so they can send notes to.
So. We want to need to be held by the BLM and not transferred.
Correct, we would like it to stay in federal control. Yes, BLM. And meanwhile, BLM has something that they're ready to do.
Concerned that. What are they gonna do? Build roads and water lines and promote development?
That's what I think, sure. It's exactly what I think will happen. What?
4 lanes.
4 lanes.
Road.
Sheep Ridge Road.
I'm not kidding. Down the road. Yes.
So,
We don't even have 4 lanes.
on the highway, not.
But I mean, they could do 4, 5-story apartment buildings, they could do.
They could do all kinds of stuff out there once there's a water line.
There's no way to actually own it and like put it or try to purchase it at all, there's like, that's, excuse my.
No, there's not.
Yeah, no, because
This is gonna be, taking the land, it's part of the congressional bill before Congress.
so if that passes, can we annex it?
That was my
So,
question.
so if it passes, we may wanna consider
Annex
annexing.
that, and then,
Well,
well, this is partly.
At least we'll have control over the zoning and.
I would say that'd be like number 1.
the county,
I'm gonna pull up the Washington map and make absolutely sure that all of that BLM land is outside of city limits, but I think it is. I think our city limits start right where that sign says, it says, welcome to Virgin.
Yeah.
Cause when that welcome to Virgin sign was put in, and it's so awkward. And Bruce was mayor, we had this whole issue of where we wanted to put the sign, and we had to put it there. It was the only place we could put it.
I believe our city limit goes to the dam diversion road.
Yeah, that's what I.
Diversion, so some of it is inside.
But
That's fine, like a little.
I think the city has another concern with the BLM proposal for their campground, because we do have that acre, 1 square mile of private land.
Yeah.
Out there, they wanna put it north, 150 campsites just north of that. And that would interfere with the flow of, we have Virgin, BLM campground, Virgin. It would be more appropriate to be on the south side.
But you're talking about what BLM wants to do.
Yes.
Yes, but this is purely, not
That's just
letting this
another-
land
Yeah,
get
that's
taken
another
away.
concern out there too.
You were gonna say something about annexation.
well, you know, obviously the county would be an effective party, probably the single most effective party besides any other landowners that we would be bringing in the annexation and they would be objecting. They may be objecting to this.
Yeah.
And so if we get, a complete objection to it, then the county of all people is supposed to be the ones who can be in the boundary commission.
You see that map?
And,
those locations?
we both argue our grievances in the county to the commission that they created and the town to the commission that they created.
Okay, so I wanna say this, that, what they have on here and what I see on the map, I don't think that's in our city limits. The white section here, I believe,
Private land is what,
what's white is our city limits, correct?
yeah, and on that map, it has private land,
Oh, no, you know what, never mind, I'm sorry, that's not correct, I'm not correct.
that's private land right there.
Yeah, that's in our city limits, so what I'm saying here is wrong, I was wrong, okay. Never mind, sorry.
Well,
I
I
was
think
wrong.
it's
I
a
was
dumb
wrong.
idea to get the on that
So
land.
before we annex, do we need the annexation policy? It's been a while since I looked at
We
your.
can look at it, because I believe it's pretty wide, and would include this area if I remember. correctly.
Yeah, because we've also talked about annexing up to the
Is that
mesa,
for me?
and we probably want to do that sooner than later, so.
Okay, so we've talked all the time, but we still haven't gotten to the public hearing.
Oh, my goodness.
We've had so much to
It'll
talk
be
about.
midnight.
Yes, I know. I agree, Heath. Okay, so I talked about BLM land and now we can move on to the public hearing. So. Need a motion to, open the public hearing. On the, budget.
I move we open the public hearing.
You have to close the public hearing and you have to close the
I
public
move
meeting.
we close the public meeting and open public hearing.
On what reason?
Fiscal year 2025-2026 budget.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
All right. So we've got two people in the audience who would possibly be making a comment on the budget. Do either of you have any comment on the budget? No. Okay.
I move that we close the, public hearing, public comment on the budget and reopen, public meeting.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Yes.
Okay. So on to the motion and vote. So we have the purchase of the irrigation water shares where we were offered 4 shares. And we agreed that we want to purchase them, but we need a contract, correct? Or do we not need a contract in order to
Done
vote?
it in the past, when we
Yeah.
purchased
Okay.
it. Is it from,
Lee Ballard,
oh,
there. She was gonna sell us 4 shares.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And the price was
37.5.
37, that's what I was thinking, 37.50 per share.
So the water conservancy district isn't going to want to try to get that water.
No,
From her shares?
No, from us, once we have that.
we don't have to give up any of our water. What they don't want us to do is going out competing with them, buying big blocks of water that they want to accumulate within their irrigation
But
system.
the irrigation water's fine. Okay, these are all irrigation. Okay, so, I will put then on the agenda for next month for us to, have a contract to vote on, to purchase this, because I did hope to get this in this year's, budget.
Do we need to,
Absolutely.
make a motion on this?
No,
Not yet.
Probably
we
not.
don't have one.
So it's just going to get, continued to next month. Okay. So that's gonna be, so Becky, that's gonna be 4 water shares at 37.50 each. That we are gonna want to, pay out before the end of this fiscal year. Okay, all right. Then we have ordinance 2025-08, amending the location of, zones in chapters 32, 40, and 44 of the land use code. And this is basically deleting the language in each chapter 32, 40, and 44, where it had words saying where the zone is located. Those words are being removed from this, from the code. Do you have any discussion, Paul? It's up to you.
No, I
Something you want to say?
had a discussion with Darlene earlier today on a question, and because I wanted to kind of get Heath's read on it. So what we're doing is we're limiting the length of commercial off of highway, that's R9, and the length of hotel resort, so many feet off of highway now.
The depth.
Yeah.
I would say.
Which of course, I'm the one that said, hey, we can't be approving zones that go forever.
Right,
And so I'm all right with that.
yeah.
The question I asked Darlene was, we have some and it's not across the river, so we have some property we've already approved for hotel resort. Highway resort, that's already across the river, that's beyond that 1,000 foot limit.
Yes,
So what happens, because the way this reads is there's no uses of this zone will be allowed beyond that distance. So what happens to that property we already approved that's gonna be outside that location area?
Well, it says right here, highway resort zone includes any parcels currently zoned highway resort at the time of the adoption. of the
Okay,
zone.
okay, I missed that when I was reading. Okay,
And even if we didn't include that in the actual ordinance, they would be grandfathered.
okay, that's what you were telling me was in the ordinance when she was on the phone and she was breaking up and I'm going, okay.
Pretty good for them.
Okay,
Okay,
That's all.
so you're saying, so we're allowing HRZ to extend 1,000 feet?
Yeah.
Okay, commercial is 400.
So what happens now?
HRZ is 1,000,
everything that's existing HRZ,
stays.
they can do the uses that are in the code now. In future ones cannot. So that's what I'm looking at. So we have leased property that's across the river and we have. And if we have somebody that's outside that 1,000 feet,
Yeah.
they can do the current uses. But anybody you can't. Okay. Just want to make sure I'm on the same page.
Are we expanding the uses?
No.
No,
No.
Okay, so they can come in and seek a zone change. And, so my question is, how do you deal with parcels that overlap this 1,000-foot boundary, depth boundary, and parcels that overlap or go over? So say I have a parcel and it's long and rectangular and I hit 1,000 feet and I still have another 300 feet of depth in my parcel.
In my mind, they would have to partition and, do a partition. And the back portion would stay whatever zone it's currently in. They can only rezone that first portion.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it.
I don't think we have that many of that condition, but
Well, I'm just wondering.
There's
because I'm
quite a
wondering-
few along.
There's a couple ways to deal with that, because you really do not want to split zone a parcel. Really hard to enforce the zone on that when it's split, like that, so yeah, I think it would require either a divisional land waiver, so they split it or partition, the land, or I was thinking of the option that if the parcel is longer, that it extended beyond 1,000 feet, I guess we don't. It's kind of contrary to the purpose of this whole thing, but that would be the two different ways you could avoid a split zone parcel.
Okay, so we just need to fill in the,
So if we require them to do a partition, then it's not split zoning a parcel, because now we have two parcels.
Cool.
Yeah.
yeah,
So what do we have to fill in, just the date or the ordinance? The ordinance
when
number.
we're looking at this ordinance, you're probably gonna have to delete draft. What's the ordinance number?
Oh, wait.
08, and then, whereas the planning commission had a public hearing on this ordinance on,
What date was the public hearing? It's in March, right? Public hearing that you guys had was in March? Or no, wait, that's when you guys voted on.
Let me look it up.
Okay.
then the next whereas, and then the date recommended in the vote.
Yeah,
Whatever the
so
vote
she's,
was.
yeah, she's looking up when they had the public hearing and when they sent it to us.
And then when we get down here, at the time of adoption of, I'd just say, change it, all these to shall include only parcels currently sown at the time of adoption of this ordinance.
This ordinance, yes.
That way you don't have to get
The
the,
number or the,
and the same with the next one.
And the next one.
it's February 11th. February 11th is the date of the
Here.
public hearing. And what's the date you guys sent it to us?
What's the date recommended, voted on?
It was March.
They voted on it on March 11th.
March 11th.
March 11th.
And so February 11th and March 11th, correct, are the two dates? And
Yeah.
what was the vote? It says you guys want to say what the vote is here.
I'll hold that. Maybe March, you said?
March 11th. March 11th.
Three yes, 2 no.
3 to 2 to approve. Okay, I move that we adopt Virgin County ordinance number 2025-08 with the following amendments, that the language draft is deleted. On the fourth whereas, we add February 11th, 2025. On the fifth whereas, we add recommended in a 3 to 2 vote that the town council approve these amendments on March 11th, 2025. And then we go down to section 1 where the blank is, and after the word time of adoption, delete and insert this. So it reads at the time of adoption of this ordinance, and then delete the number sign and dates and blanks there. And then on section 2, we do the same amendments at the time of adoption of insert the word this between
Before the word ordinance.
before the word ordinance, and then delete the number blank, comma, dated blank. And then on section 3, location, same amendments between the word of and adoption, put at the time of adoption,
Of this ordinance.
between the of and ordinance, insert the word this, and then delete after ordinance, number sign, blank, comma, dated, blank.
I'll second that. All in favor? Yeah. All right, so, next item to vote on, so let's see. Item 1 was continued to next month, we just voted, oh. What? I never joined Misty to the meeting. Who? She's probably going. She's probably going.
This one would be important if we can get on the phone. Just-
Yes, let's see if we can get her on the
Do you want
phone.
me to?
Yes, see if you can get her on the phone.
Isn't it amazing? that
Well,
we
she
offer-
said she would zoom in.
And then.
No, all these other people join.
You don't have to, you shouldn't have to,
Yeah.
there's no waiting room, so you need to be able to just run.
Say what?
There's not a waiting room.
I have all the participants who joined.
Let me see.
If you can get her to answer your phone. I did not join her as a presenter. I realized, before we started, I was thinking, no, I need to join Misty as a presenter, and I forgot all about it.
Thank you,
See.
Darby.
Thanks, John.
Appreciate your work.
Laura, I'm so sorry. I forgot to join her. This is why you're gonna sit there and say, this is why you should let me do this. Yeah.
Next time, Crystal.
I am used to running three computers, you know?
Well, I had something I wanted to see. I wanted to see something, and that's why I wanted this to be here, but I forgot that she needed to zoom in.
It's okay.
Take the opportunity, take advantage of the opportunity.
Hang on, for a second, she said.
Okay, she gotta be on the phone, or do I need to do her as a presenter?
She's gonna get over Zoom, so you should see her pop up in just a second.
Oh, okay.
She said, hold on, she's getting up.
Oh, we're gonna wait for Keith and then close.
Yeah. That gives her time. And it gives us time to apologize.
I don't know if she ever gets it on or not, so I'm not sure.
You send her the link.
Yes.
Well, she's probably gonna sit here and say, with all the stuff we've talked about so far, she's probably gonna be very happy that she was not online. Given that we've been here almost 2 hours and we're just now getting to something that I thought would have happened in 15 minutes.
I agreed.
Huh?
I agreed.
Yeah. He's not on here yet. I'm rushing here, okay. We don't have to see her, we just have to hear her.
Well, she's at a graduation thing or something, so
Oh.
that's why she didn't make it.
Have you noticed the cobweb that's up there on that?
I.
Okay, I'm in.
Okay, all right, yay, Misty.
We're just waiting for you to down to end. Get back. I think we killed the spider that was in here. I had the last meeting that we had, I had Brian come and kill them.
Well, I've noticed that for quite a number of meetings, I noticed that cobweb up there, I keep forgetting to tell somebody, can you shoot that far?
Yeah, I know.
So Misty, pardon me, we're apologizing, I forgot to, have you join the meeting when we got started. But on the other hand, you're probably happy you didn't sit here through all of the stuff we've been discussing. So, as soon as Paul comes back, we'll get on with the next thing. Are you there? Misty? She
Yes,
fell
I'm
off?
sorry, I'm here.
Okay. Oh, there she is, okay.
Okay, Misty Fall is back, and so now we are on to, the item for which we were definitely needing you to be here. Did you hear that? Just making sure you're listening. Misty. Hello?
I'm here.
Okay, I just want to make sure you heard what I just said. We are
Yeah,
moving on.
did you not hear me the first time I said I'm here? I'm sorry.
Okay, no, so we are moving on to the item on the agenda for which we wanted to be sure you were here for, that we wanted everyone here. So,
Okay.
this is the part of the motion to, offer a position of town manager to, Mark Myers. So we are ready to proceed with that. Do we need any discussion on the record about this? We interviewed him and, we're very impressed, and we all wanted to make him an offer. And now we have this on the agenda for us to extend an offer. And I don't know if we need any further discussion. Would you like to be able to tell the town members what we've done?
Oh, I would like to say that, and I'll let Misty talk about it if she wants to, but, we landed on an individual that I think is very qualified and that's gonna be a member of our community, which is very important because it's hard to get somebody with today's lack of housing or high cost of housing to live in the community where we have the person. I know we struggled with that at the fire board too a little bit. So it's great that we have somebody that's here, that's gonna be part of our community, and that I think all 5 of us are in agreement with. And if I'm not mistaken, Misty, you came around to, from not having a city manager to, if we have one, this is the good one. So I'll let you speak to that if you want.
Yeah, I still hold true to that. I feel like we don't need one yet, but out of all of our candidates, I felt like he was the best, and it's going to happen. And I feel like he'll do a great job.
How many were interviewed?
What?
He asked how many did we actually interview? One.
We interviewed one, we had several others lined up in our list that we were going to interview. And one took another job already elsewhere. The next person in line, decided after he said he would come and we scheduled the interview, decided he didn't want to move to Southwest Utah.
Yeah.
And then the next person in line that we had put in our list that was the next person to interview, was questionable about him because he didn't really have city management experience. He had Forest Service experience.
Yeah.
But we liked his resume. And then, but this guy was so impressive that we just wanted to just make the offer. Before he went elsewhere.
If you were going to make a wish list of qualifications and personality and experience, a wish list for, the person that you would want for town manager, this man exceeded all of it.
Yes,
And-
Missy.
and references. And references, yeah.
Yeah, Missy, go
Yes.
ahead.
I was going to say it's important to mention that before we even interviewed him, his resume stood out number one. Then we interviewed him, and in person, he was very impressive. And then when we called his references, it just sealed it. And we tried to line up the other interviews, and they didn't come through. However, this guy, like Valerie said, matched all of the checklists. If we're going to have a town manager, I feel he's going to be excellent.
It was, let's just say that when we interviewed him, first off, when we went through, we had 14 people apply. And, when we went through the resumes, he's the only one that all 5 of us said, we want to interview this guy. The rest of them were a combination, it wasn't unanimous. And then after the interview, we walked out like, do we really need to interview anyone else? This guy's great. He's perfect, absolutely perfect. And but we went ahead and tried to schedule some other interviews and it didn't work out.
Not to sabotage our negotiating position, because I know, he's probably watching this.
Oh, I forgot about that.
But we do have some candidates that are viable that submitted late applications. So if we're unable to reach a contract with this individual, we do, in my estimate, have 2 other candidates that we can at least interview or remove from the application process. So
Which, yes, we talked about that when we had a meeting yesterday, that if we can't come to an agreement on a contract with him, then we do have 2 other, out of the 3 late applicants, there were 2 that we thought, okay, if we need to, we will interview them.
Thank you, Paul. That was a good point.
Okay, you ready for motion?
But yes, the references were just,
Still, they're
Still.
all still, from top to bottom, still.
okay, motion.
Okay, I move that we extend an offer to Mark Myers to the position of town manager, subject to an agreement on salary and contract terms. And authorize the mayor to negotiate said salary and contract terms and bring it back to the town council, contract for approval.
I'll second that.
Is this the kind of thing that we can just do ayes or just need?
I think
a
we should
motion?
do an awful, so
Yeah,
everybody
roll
knows.
call.
Yeah,
Okay, April,
Aye.
Paul,
aye.
Jean, yes, Valerie,
Yes.
Misty,
Yes.
thank you.
Oh, I just got chills.
Okay, thank you, Misty. The rest of what's coming up on the agenda, did you want to stay online for any of the discussion? I don't, or not. If you don't want to stay online, that's okay. You can go back to what you were doing.
I'll watch it later. I've got to finish doing all of this graduation stuff. Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Misty.
Misty.
Bye, Misty. Okay, so, that takes care of items for which we wanted to vote. And now we're on to the non-action items. So is there, the non-action item that's on for discussion is the budget for the 25-26 fiscal year. Since we have a budget meeting scheduled for June 3rd,
What time is that?
I'm
Oh,
1 o'clock.
assuming.
1 o'clock.
Did we say, yes, 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock on the 3rd of June. Because Misty will be out of school and she can come in the afternoon. And, since we have a budget meeting coming up, do we have anything else that we want to discuss beyond what we discussed just this past Thursday? Past Wednesday? Or do we want to wait for the June 3rd?
Let's wait for the June 3rd, but I do kind of an explanation of the well. The salaries in the well, when it comes on June 3rd,
Oh, on June 3rd,
on
okay.
June 3rd.
I will talk with the guy who put together the salary plan and see if he can come. I'm not sure he can come on June 3rd. He gave me some dates. That he can come, and I was hoping June 3rd was one of them, and I'm almost certain without looking at his email that June 3rd was not. But he did, as I said to you guys before the meeting started, that I told him everyone found his salary plan very complicated to understand. And that we needed a face-to-face, tutorial on how to use his software.
And I'm all right with Zoom, but face to face is better.
It'll
If we need
probably-
to do, where is he located at?
He lives in up in northern Utah somewhere, but I did tell him when he wrote back that you were gonna be out of town. And then, it's right when you get back, somebody else, April, leaves town. And it was going to be, somebody would be missing the discussion.
Since it's a 4.5, 5 hour drive, we could do it over Zoom. I think he'd probably prefer that than running all the way down here.
Just check this real quick.
Cause, you get that on the second.
Right, we may not have to, we may have to do it after the third, but as long as it's done before the budget hearing.
Well, I'll
Right.
tell you what he says here in his email to me. Let's see it. We want to do either the 28th, 29th, or 30th, which is when you're gone.
No, it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? Oh, is there a Thursday in there?
Hold on. He said he's going to Cedar City on June the 4th or 5th. Friday the 6th works for him.
Okay.
And Friday the 6th, you're
Oh, he's
gone.
gonna be in Cedar City.
He's gonna be in Cedar City on the 4th or 5th.
You could, yeah, so you could swing down on the.
Now, I know Misty is gone because she told us she's gonna be gone these days. But, you're gonna be gone.
Chief said she would soon, yeah.
I can send.
I'll ask him what he's doing in Cedar City on the 4th or 5th. I have a feeling he's got meetings, but I'll ask him what he's doing on the 4th or 5th. And then Friday the 6th, he can come here in person. And we're all here, all of us. I mean, Valerie, me and you, but Misty's gonna be gone, April's gonna be gone, but April can zoom. Okay. I'll ask him about the 6th. Okay. All right, now, the next thing is Shilas wants to talk to us about the fees, but before we do that, I want to just mention, we'll do the fees, the last thing. These three documents from the Water Conservancy District. I don't think we need to have a discussion about them today. I'll put them on for discussion, but we don't have time.
We never get to all that discussion items.
We never do. So all I will say is these are three things that the Water Conservancy District has brought at our last meeting. And they want us all to adopt these very soon.
And what if we don't?
We basically have to.
We have
Okay,
to.
so that was my question.
We don't have, but we're now in the regional water supply agreement. We don't have.
It's gonna be a short discussion.
If the discussion, well, there's no reason we can't discuss these and understand what they are because we're about to adopt them and our county residents.
Right, I'm saying, I mean, if we continue it, we can have time to
To read it, exactly. Because one of these, this very first one, no, the water shortage contingency plan, that's the one I took to you, isn't it, April? This one, this is the one that I brought to your house, okay?
So,
They wanted us to adopt that. At the meeting we were at, they handed it to us right then and there, we're like, oh, and the mayor of St. George is like, no, just no. And so they backed off and, we're like, you can't hand us something like this and expect us to adopt it when we haven't even read it. And
is there a comment period or have we submit comments? Do we?
you can, they did not talk about a comment
Oh,
period.
so they're just going to.
They want it, yeah, but
The way it
we have these meetings, we sit there and discuss these things and have comments. So if you've got comments, you can certainly write them up and I can present it at the next meeting.
Okay.
For any of these.
I just thought it was really interesting on the water shortage that by the time you have a water shortage, they're saying we have this level of a water shortage, we're not have any more permits for like water parks. And it's like, by that time, it's too late.
Exactly.
It's,
Some of their, yeah, water parks and golf courses are not aggressive enough. They need to stop the permits sooner.
They are doing some things about
But you're right, when there's,
golf courses, but then when they have the emergency
when you get to the
situation.
different benchmarks, they need to do that earlier in the summer.
That's what I thought. That was my comment.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is continue these, probably not next month. We're gonna have, because next month is adoption of the budget. So probably I will continue these to July. Because the next meeting of the Water Conservancy District where we're gonna talk about these is in August.
Oh, so we got time.
Yeah, we've got time, so I'm gonna continue these to the July meeting, okay? All right, Shiloh, come
So one more thing about that, just real quick, sorry. Do you know what the process of their reuse treatment plant is, like where, because they talk about that a lot.
You mean where it's gonna be?
No, well, that would be good to know too, I suppose, but like it, in the construction process, like where is
Oh,
that in the
gosh.
process? Because they have this 5-year time frame that they're looking at and it's.
They have not started construction, I can tell you that. We sit in the meetings and they give us a slideshow showing us everything that's going on, all the different projects that the Water Conservancy District is doing. And they talk about the reuse project and, show us what all they're going to be doing, but to date, it doesn't appear that they started on it.
Do they have the money?
Well, that's another story.
Okay.
That's
I'm
just
just
curious,
curious.
and what, now we haven't started.
They're basing a lot of the water on that. right?
Yes,
So
on that.
that's gonna be online,
Yes, that's exactly.
yeah, okay.
Okay, Shyla was gonna talk to us about some new fees, additional fees, and how she wants to amend the fee schedule. So she's come up with some of these as she's completing her work. She has seen where there's some work, new fees that she would like to. And, oh, are you planning to read this entire thing?
No, I just,
Okay, thank you.
I don't like public speaking, so I just wrote a summary based off of the packet that is inside there, so, currently working on fee schedules, like the mayor said, and also trying to put attention to just a few things that are more pressing, which are both pointed, building valuation data. We've been operating at under 2003 at 75%, so lots of money missing, so, I just wanna get things updated. While putting this together, I thought it might be important that, like, we're in need of clear application statuses as far as like, understanding who's responsible for what within the department that I'm in. When it comes to an application, for example, just today, when it comes to Unplugged, when they do reach out, they're reaching out to Barati, but there has been an email in the queue for about 3 weeks with no response. One, because I did not know that the letter was written and things were moving forward. So it's just like the application process, fees, the whole internal process of how these applications are moving. There needs to be better internal communication when it comes to leadership, staff, and then
Okay,
who's
that's
responsible.
not, that's, we're talking about fees.
Okay,
Okay,
but that's a part of the fee, like third-party review, plan review fees, grading permits, public work fees. So I just kind of put in here just like a packet that will in detail describe how applications now are online and how things are auto-populating fees within this new program called Civic Review. The printouts are the applications as the user will see them. And then in those middle folders, one is like conditional use permit. A visual flow of what that looks like. And then same thing with residential, commercial, subdivision with complete checklist of when an applicant comes in. One part about fee structure is a call out for a plan review. When that is going to be charged, and anyway, it's all in the package. So just review that and then feedback is welcome. And then I'm just.
but you
giving
found some
forward.
additional fees that you wanted us to charge, right?
Yeah, the grading, we need to amend, bring back the grading permit. which I know Gregor's working on language right now to add that back into the ordinance. Also, public work, so it's more complicated because it's like, there needs to be a division between like public works and community development, encroachment or grading. And
So
so
when you say grading, excuse me for interrupting,
digging,
excavating,
excavating, but there's a difference between the two. There's a right of way. So it's more like a utility permit that's needed, which we don't have. We've historically, what I've found, it's just been a temporary use permit. And then it lists out the description of, but there's no proper process.
Okay.
But I don't wanna go down that road.
I was gonna say, I don't wanna go down that road, I wanna talk about
So-
fees, what we're gonna charge.
So. Right now, building valuation data. The question is, why hasn't it always just been updated? Who is the person that speaks to the inspector, building inspector, to be accurate? Because in our code, it says the building inspector. But if we're operating inside our manila envelope, I have every example that I've presented in the envelope, I have shared, the fee schedule, what's current and what we're actually using. So in the back of the fee schedule packet, there is a building valuation 2024 from ICC. And then next to it is the one that we're currently using, which is 2003 at 75%.
This is why the lot prices are low, is because we adopted this one
We're supposed to,
ICC, but it's never been updated.
it's never been enforced.
So,
It's always updating because it's in the code. But it's never been enforced. So my question is, who keeps us accountable? Is it me? Is it the zoning administrator? Is it the building inspector? It's a question. I don't have the answer.
So maybe what we need to do is review all the.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, because I'm kind of a little bit lost.
100%, and that's why I put the packets together, and then there's examples. Every page has its own title, it'll just help clear so I can, not only do we have fee schedules, but there needs to be a process in play to implement it afterwards.
but that is, any kind of process has nothing to do with council.
Correct, 100%, so I'm just,
That goes just to staff to figure out.
and when you say staff, that's me,
That's the town staff.
when it comes to this.
Yes.
And then,
I'm
so
telling
my
you,
next
That's
question.
nothing to do with town council.
Okay, and then, so I know we spoke about this, in a meeting with Heath, is like, when it comes to us moving into, we're now live on the website, there will be no more applications filled out, so communication needs to be clear, precise, and written. I need the zoning administrator to be on board and be a
Okay,
part
but
of it.
that is between me and you.
Okay, yeah, 100%, I'm just saying, like, when it comes to the communication of it, I don't want it to fall short.
Okay, all I'm saying is the questions that you and I have about communication, that is not the responsibility of town council.
Copy that.
Okay, okay. But Paul looked like you want to say something.
No, I'm just listening.
Okay.
Well, I
But-
think
but
I can see
but
you
I
got
do
a lot of
want you to
work
know-
on this, because I saw it, everything posted on the wall, and I do think we need some processes, and I do. think
Oh, for sure.
We need to update.
There was none in existence when I came.
Was that-
There
That's
weren't
why,
any in
that's why
existence when I
we
came.
need, that's why we need
Yeah.
somebody.
So I've done this since January, I've been working on all this, and so there's a lot too, just with the online processes that. Sarah, I'm doing data entry every day, I'm getting every application online, all the things,
So
so.
what do you want to say, Paul?
Oh, well, two things. One, yes, I think we need an excavation permit. We used to have one, and we don't anymore.
Absolutely.
There's a
So
whole
we
section.
do need one, yeah. And second, Charlotte, thank you for all this hard work. You've just given me some reading material for my.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're visual, there's visual ones in there too, so you've got all the things.
So I'm gonna go see my sons and so go see the cubbies.
Yeah,
And on the public,
And hopefully a play, but we'll see.
on the public works one, it'll outline the top three that I think are super important.
Stormwater, the fees.
Yeah, it's right now, it's just the type, and then if you guys, yes, move forward with this, I can easily justify the finances. And when it comes to digging, I've started a table valuation, is it UBC? 1997, I can't remember, but it's actually in our code somewhere. So it all already exists, we just need to put it all back together. Okay.
I don't think your public speaking prowess is.
Oh, girl, I'm at 120 heartbeats per minute right now, and just a fact check it really quick. Yeah, I know one time, so, no good.
It gets easier each time you do.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, when you come back to talk about this again with us, to me, what I wanna see is what is the fee and how much is the fee you want? to
I
charge?
did have that.
That's what
I do have that, I just thought I'd give this information first, and I'm working that, I have it all.
Okay.
I just was too much.
Okay.
I knew I was already bringing too much.
Thank you for your initiative.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Okay, so with that in mind, I will take a motion to close the public meeting and open the closed meeting. And we've got 2 reasons here. I thought we had 4.
Well, the 2 reasons on
At least
that.
because it's on the agenda, we can't cite.
I know, but I'm just saying, there's supposed to be 4. A
There's
strategy session.
also one to talk about the current offers amount negotiation.
Correct, that's not on there.
But yeah, so we need to state that reason.
Yes, and, why did I think there were 4 things?
Well, that's great, right?
Litigation,
I think
Property.
you could have discussed the purchase of the water shares and executives.
no, that wasn't going to be, this was the swamp. This
Thank you,
is,
Thanks, Becky.
That was number 2.
yeah, that's.
You only gave me 2 things. You only gave me 2 things.
And then we have this third, which is, 2051A, I think.
We can add that real quick.
Yeah, we could just say that out, it doesn't have to be written on here.
Well, we can come back to this.
So,
Close it and open it again if we need to.
If I remember what the
Yes,
fourth was.
if you remember.
We just state the code, not have to read it all.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
you don't have to read it all.
I make a motion that we close the public meeting and open and close the meeting for the purpose of discussing 52-4-205A or C and 52-4-2051D and 205-1A.
And the public meeting, the closed meeting is gonna take place right here in the same room where we're sitting right now at 114 South Mill Street in Pershing.
That's where we are.
Yes,
Are we all?
not yet. We have to have a second and a vote. I'll second. April,
What? Oh,
she seconded.
yes.
Paul, Jean, yes, Valerie, yes. Okay. I am going to end this meeting. Goodbye to everybody who is online. Oh, you know what? Let me take one more picture here before. Because I think there's somebody new on here who wasn't here the last time I took a picture of who was on. I can send that to Crystal. Okay, hanging up now for everybody who's online. Bye.